Hi, I'm Dr. Jason Won, orthopedic physical therapist. Today, I'm going to share with you exactly how to use a peanut ball to address many tight areas in the body. So if you haven't yet, you have seen my video on foam rolling. Go ahead and click this video here so you can see that. The difference though between a peanut ball from a foam roll is that a peanut ball has much smaller surface area, meaning that if we decrease the overall surface area, we're actually increasing the amount of pressure to specific areas. So what you would use a foam roll for is mainly more broad areas, namely like your quadriceps or even your mid-back, so some of those larger tissues. But if you want to get a little bit deeper into certain areas, a peanut ball can be even more effective. So again, if you haven't yet, make sure to go to my foam roll video where I have an exact breakdown and full video tutorial addressing every area from head to toe. So let's dive into using a peanut ball right now. So some common areas that I would use with a peanut ball would be namely to address a lot of the suboccipitals in my neck, an area that a foam roll would simply have not much effect for. Then I'm gonna address areas directly between my shoulder blades. And it's great because the spine kind of fits directly in between the two balls. And then the two balls are gonna kind of sit onto my rhomboids. So you can address certain people with more mid-back or even inside shoulder blade pain. Super effective for that. Then I'm gonna address actually areas that the foam roll can address, like our forearm muscles as well as our triceps. And then I'm gonna dive into the same leg areas that I did in my foam roll series, but I'm also going to kind of tell you exactly why you would use this over a foam roll. Okay, so let's dive into this now. So if you had, let's say you're a person that had cervicogenic headaches or you had more just directly like a lot of neck tension, great thing to do. So the first place I would start off with is putting the roll or putting the massage ball right onto my occiput. So everybody has an occiput, which is like this large part of the dome right on the other side of our nose. We're gonna put the ball right below that, okay? If you feel any tension right here, I'm going to actually just sit here, find the most tense areas of my neck, and just like I said with the foam roll, you're simply gonna relax and just breathe, okay? So you're gonna breathe in, usually I tell my clients breathe in for 2, and out for 4. In for 2, and out for 4. Now, why you wanna do that? Why do you wanna exhale more than you inhale? So when you inhale, you're actually activating your sympathetic nervous system, which causes fight or flight and causes more tension. You wanna double up on your exhale in order to allow your suboccipitals to kind of melt directly into the massage balls behind you. So if you breathe in really hard and you hold your breath, see those muscles aren't gonna relax. But when you exhale, you can kind of feel yourself kind of relaxing into the ball more. Now, once you address the nervous system and just getting into some of the painful tissues, then you're gonna start to address some mobilization with movement. So get into those painful areas again. And now I'm going to actually kind of bring my chin and tuck it in toward my Adam's apple. And you can see the top of my head kind of goes up towards the wall, kind of like right here. So I'm gonna do a chin tuck. And notice as I do the chin tuck, that ball kind of like rolls up. And what we're doing here is we're doing a little bit of neck, like kind of assisted neck strengthening, but we're also getting that ball to kind of roll up and down into those painful tissues, okay? Now you can eventually move down into your, kind of like your middle cervical spine, or even right at the base of the neck. Sometimes the base of the neck feels pretty good because that's an area that we often hinge from when we're on a computer. So kind of getting directly onto those spots. Do the same thing, you can relax, breathe into it for 5 to 10 reps. You can also do the same type of chin tucks. This would be more of a neck sit-up because we are addressing the lower cervical spine. So we'd actually be kind of lifting our head up against gravity and then coming back down, okay? Now, once we address that area, then we start to get into the upper traps and between our shoulder blades. So trap that ball. So we're gonna kind of roll that down and find that spot kind of directly right there in between our shoulder blades. So you kind of line yourself up, get that ball right directly in between your shoulder blades, and notice that as I kind of lie down, it feels like your back kind of arching. Totally fine. You can simply tighten up your abs a bit, and it feels like it kind of flattens you out. And what now I feel is that ball is really deep into those tissues. So what you can do from here is I usually like to get some cavitations. What that means is, just like when you go to like a chiropractor or a physical therapist, they may like kind of crack your back and you feel that kind of audible release. You can do the same thing here. So I can actually put my hands directly over my head. I can do a little bit of thoracic extension, but notice that a foam roll would actually be more advantageous for this because you're lifted up higher off the floor. But a great thing about getting the massage ball here is now you're trapping that direct spot. And now once I kind of tuck in my pelvis, I'm going to pull my elbows under, chin tuck, and now as I pull into flexion, there's a lot of people that can start to feel a nice audible release. And if you don't get that, totally fine. We're really not looking for the cracking sensation, but if you get it, great. But you can see that it's addressing a lot of those tissues. And believe me, when you get in at least, let's say 10 to 20 reps of this thoracic flexion here, you'll notice that you can look down easier. You notice that your mid-back feels a lot more smooth and it feels much less tense, okay? But to address also shoulder discomfort, a lot of people have inside shoulder blade pain or you have pain with overhead movement. You can actually just trap the ball directly in between your shoulder blades. You can actually do some overhead motions here and start to address some of that shoulder mobility that you might be lacking. So if you have lack of any like external rotation in your shoulders, you have some limited motion here, you can incorporate 90-90 external rotation, get in some of that motion here. Just be mindful if you have a history of like, let's say dislocations, you may not want to do this because there might be some injury that may occur so be mindful of that. But I can also address overhead mobility. The great thing about doing this here is that when I'm doing this overhead motion, gravity is actually helping me to pull my arms down, okay? So if your neck gets tired here, simply just kind of relax. You can still get some shoulder mobility here, and again, addressing that thoracic flexion as well, okay? So now, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna start to address anybody that has more hand numbness or forearm tightness, maybe even have pain in the triceps. So I'm gonna address that, but you need to be in an area where you have a higher up surface. So I'm gonna move to this bench here. And so if you have any discomfort in your forearms or any discomfort either on the inside elbow, this can be a great way to get a lot of that movement in. Just to repeat, is that a foam roll, just foam rolling this area, the foam roll is so broad and the surface area is so large that you're not gonna be able to put enough pressure into some of these smaller tissues. So I'm going to get deep into these tissues and I'm gonna roll it across all the way up till the point where I'm almost reaching my elbow and roll it all the way down into my wrist, okay? So you wanna do your best to try to relax your hands, because if you relax your hands, if you tighten it up or you do this, those tissues are gonna tighten up and you're not gonna get as much of a kind of a deep tissue and address all that fascia. So try to relax your hands here. And if you wanna deepen the stretch, simply use your other hand and then dig into it a little harder. So I'm just putting a little bit of downward pressure with my opposite arm. And then do this for about 20-30 seconds. And if you wanted to, you can find a specific area that feels tight. Let's say that area feels tight. I'm gonna pin that tissue down and I'm going to raise my arm up, okay? So this is what we call, again, like in my foam roll series, mobilization with movement. You're pinning a tissue down and you're incorporating some sort of movement at the same time, okay? So you can address also if you had more lateral elbow pain, you can just simply supinate your hand, go into a little bit of shoulder external rotation, address also the dorsum of the forearm, or even address more lateral elbow pain. So you have pain with gripping, you can address those areas deep into those tissues. Again, you can pin it down. You can also do some grips, okay? And then also a common area, especially because I do a lot of push-ups or bench press, is a lot of people get some tricep tightness as well. Tricep tightness can limit either elbow flexion, it can also limit overhead shoulder mobility. So one of my favorite things to do is I actually bend my elbow here. Okay, now bending the elbow is gonna put that tricep on stretch. So if you do it this way, you're really working more on kind of overhead mobility. So notice that that arm, that elbow is further away from my trunk. Okay, so now we're working on that overhead mobility. If you really wanted to, again, relax the tricep, you let that arm kind of go, put some downward pressure, and then roll out that tricep, okay? The tricep is 3 heads, so make sure to try to get into the lateral head of the tricep, which is what I'm doing here. Notice I had to kind of corkscrew my body a bit in order to get there, but also address the medial head or the inside head of the tricep, and also even this part here, okay? So don't forget that we can also just rotate and get different parts of our triceps moving. Okay, now for some of you guys that do have either like hip pain or quad pain, again, the foam roll series is great because that does address the hip. I'm gonna share with you exactly how I'd use it with this ball too. But the thing here is that added surface area, or the less surface area that you have, is gonna allow you to get deeper into those tissues. So if you had any sort of like tightness in your hips, you can simply just put your hips into that area. And compared to a foam roll, that is much deeper into those tissues, right? So I can also cross my legs into a figure 4. Again, I can either relax, okay? Again, what I always say is that you can either relax and just breathe into the ball, you can roll back and forth, and then you can also incorporate mobilization with movement, all right? Just getting some of that joint to kind of move while that ball is being fixated onto those tissues, okay? And so lastly, I always use this for like either quads, okay? So I can also address my calf at the same time too. This is more common like if you had more like Achilles tendonitis, right? So if you had some discomfort, either like in the Achilles or even on like the lower border of your gastroc, then I can always get into those tissues too. And that's usually a pretty deep stretch. Okay, once I do that, you can always pin it down with your other leg, get in some sort of mobilization with movement there too. And you can see how compared to a foam roll, you get much deeper into some of those tissues with the smaller surface area. All right, so that's what I got for you guys today. If you have any questions or have any feedback about how to use a massage ball, feel free to let me know, comment below. If you found any of this helpful, make sure to subscribe and click that bell notification so you don't miss out on any great content, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.